welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. Well, Happy New Year to wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. I know I mentioned that last week on the show because it was already New Year's here in Australia, but a lot of people then hadn't actually brought in the New Year. So it's off to a flying start. Yes, there's lots of political stuff going on around the world that we won't ever go anywhere near. Let's just focus on some positive things. Let's sort of look at, a fresh new energy, an opportunity to reboot our lives, to sort of bring in some things that and some positivity that we haven't had for a long time. That we've got COVID in the rear vision mirror now, hopefully, that we can sort of start to focus on our lives and remember the lessons that we learnt then during that very difficult period, but also bring into our lives some positivity, some excitement, starting on new ventures, looking at sort of being much more positive, much more confident this year. And I think it's really important. A lot of us learned about work-life balance. I was one of them that learnt that little lesson during that period of time. And we need to carry that on into 2025. It's not saying that we can't start new projects or we shouldn't, dream big and have some really great ideas. And for those that do New Year's resolutions, that's fantastic. I don't. I sort of tend to sort of try and live my life each and every day to the best of my ability and try and achieve the things that I've set down for myself in personal goals and things like that, and sort of not just sort of focus at the beginning of the year. I tried to focus all the way through the year. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Six of Swords. So it's a really interesting card in as much as it's boat or over water travel for some people that might be lucky enough to be going on a cruise or taking a nice boat ride up the river or on the lake or something like that. But for a lot of us, it's more about turning your boat out of troubled waters. Now, I know many of us have been struggling with cost of living and sort of things going out of control, that, we always seem to be focused on money in the last few months or the last couple of years, where things have seemingly gone out of control. Now it might be a time that may be the start of the new year where you can start to sit down and put some plans into action and really start to control your own finances or start to control your own destiny, that you can then too turn your boat out of troubled waters and heading into much calmer times, knowing that you've got the wisdom behind you of everything that's preceded this, that you've now got a clear direction of where you might want to be going, how you want to achieve this, and what is potentially possible. And I use the word potential because I think goals and dreams and things like that are to be moderated or to be adjusted as we go along. Nothing is set in concrete. We need to sort of look at that and sort of say, okay, we have to be flexible with the things that we're trying to change, that we are starting to bring our boat out of troubled waters into much calmer times. So let's be flexible with that and sort of keep adjusting as we go along. It's like, adjusting your clothing after a heavy meal, that, you let it out a little bit to sort of expand. Well, let's do the same thing with our lives and the situations or the opportunities that we're trying to bring in 2025. Let's be flexible. Let's be adjustable with those sort of situations. And for those of you that are fortunate enough to be taking a lovely cruise or going on a boat somewhere or having a dinner cruise or something like that, will really enjoy your time on the water. I always find the water very calming. Some people find it that they don't like being near the water. They're very frightened of that, and it's probably a past life experience more than anything. But for those of you that do enjoy being in the water or going on the water or going on a boat trip or just going out fishing, enjoy your time. It's going to be a very big year this year, action-wise, for 2025. So let's sort of all enjoy it. We're moving on to the astrological section. Now, it's interesting because Capricorn is the time of the year that we're in now with New Year's. It's the new opportunity. And Capricorn rules things like big business, governments, anything that's official in our lives. And it's a time of the year when quite often we sit down and look at our utility bills and our insurance bills and things like that and think, can I get a better deal? Can I get a better deal on my cell phone service, my electricity, my gas, my whatevers? And that's because the sun is in Capricorn. So it makes us all sort of focus a little bit more on the important issues in our life, like money, and whether or not we're getting the best deals with things. So for the birthday Capricorns, happy birthday. We're nearing the end of the Capricorn time, or we're halfway through. So it's a big time for them because quite often they get sort of lost in the wash, of Christmas and sort of it's after Christmas, oh, it's your birthday. Well, birthdays are important no matter what time of the year they are. For me, mine's just prior to Christmas, so I know that feeling too. People will say, oh, well, just we'll get you one present, but birthday and Christmas combined, particularly when I was a child. And that used to annoy me because I used to think, I still got so many days before Christmas. My birthday is special. And I can sympathise with the Capricorns feeling the same way. Nobody's got any money after Christmas. Oh, well, we'll just get you a little something. We'll make it up to you next year. And next year never comes. But for Capricorns, it's a really special and important time. Celebrate yourself. Buy yourself a little gift, even if it's only a small gift. Buy yourself a little gift and sort of say, I really deserve this. We have Mercury, the planet of communication, is in the final stages of being in Sagittarius. Now, I know I've been speaking about Mercury here in the last few shows and telling people to be very aware of what they might be saying, particularly as there was family gatherings and gatherings with friends and things like that over the Christmas period. And sometimes people get a little bit hot under the collar or think it's the perfect time of the year to bring up the grievances they have. Well, we're still in that sort of energy. I'm going to suggest to you to sort of, I'm not saying don't speak your mind. I'm saying make sure that it's articulate. Make sure you've thought it out. Don't just blurt something out because it feels okay to do so. Make sure that your communication is clear, it's concise, you're not being derogative to somebody else, that if you've got a point to make and it might not be pleasant, then find a way of doing it in the best possible way. Look, I truly understand how you feel, but, this is how I see it from my perspective. And I think sometimes if we do it that way, I think then we also sort of feel as if, we're not being sort of quite as bossy with that other person. And the other person is more receptive to listen because you've already said, I fully understand from your point of view, but, can you look at it from my point of view? You've started on a much better footing. So that would be my suggestion over the next week. You've got to have a serious conversation. Find a nice way of opening the conversation up without going in there all guns a-blazing and just sort of speaking your truth, which is what you'll want to do because Mercury's in Sag, and Sag is known for just being very blunt and very truthful and, oh, well, that's said now, too bad, I've said it. Well, sometimes we've got to learn to be a little bit more diplomatic. Now, at the moment, we still have, quite a lot of emphasis on different things that are sort of happening. Jupiter is still going retrograde at the moment in Gemini, will be for a little bit longer yet. But we have what's known as the part of fortune, which is an Arabian part. Now, this doesn't mean this is where we're going to get our fortune or we're going to find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's just showing us that the Arabian part is saying that if we are careful and if we plan things and if we really listen and we really look and we plan and we can capture a very magical sort of energy at the moment where things can sort of seemingly go more right our way because we've done the hard work, not because somebody says, oh, it's the part of fortune, go buy a lottery ticket. I don't mean that. I mean that, with careful planning, careful decisive planning and sort of looking at the whole picture and then sort of applying that to Jupiter in Gemini, you can actually sort of start to see that things could sort of come together really, really well. It's sort of like laying the good foundation stones down for the future, that, you're showing a prospective employer if you want a pay rise, that you're really diligent, you're prepared to put in the hard yards, you are consistent, you're reliable, you're always there, you've always got a smile on your face, all those sort of things that go towards getting a promotion. It's not just whether or not you can do the job, it's the overall package. So with the part of fortune here, conjunct Gemini, it's going to be affecting the air signs, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, but also the opposite sign of Sagittarius. Now, we've got this sort of happening sort of roughly till the end of the month. So, keep moving along with, with Jupiter being retrograde there, he'll then turn direct and then things will start to move forward. So just be patient, but make sure you put your best smiley face on when you're dealing with people. And, and it does come across on the phone. If you've got a smile on your face when you're talking to someone on the phone or drafting an email, it does come through. The energy does come through. We have Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, sitting in Pisces, been there for quite some time now. But I like to look at Neptune as being more of a creative energy of, those that are in a creative industry, whether they design websites or write songs or paint pictures or just, creatively in the kitchen baking. It can be a time where you get some great downloads of information or ways to do things or insights into things that maybe you haven't had before, and it's all of a sudden let's capture that creative energy. It seems to be very intense at the moment. Yes, it is affecting the water signs more than anything, and particularly Pisces Cancer and Scorpio, but the opposite sign of Virgo as well. And Virgo's not really known for its creativity. Virgo's known more for its sort of very practical, logical, down-to-earth way of looking at things. But they do have a hint of creativity there sometimes too, Virgos. They might surprise you a little bit in that way, or shock you even, that they can be creative and they can be sort of very soft and mushy and very pliable, instead of sort of seeming like they're always sort of thinking. So it's interesting the way that how the planets dance around the zodiac, that they influence the different signs at different times. We still have Uranus in Taurus. That will be there till the end of retrograde, until the end of the month. It's still sort of stirring things up a lot, I think, for Taurians. You know, they think they get themselves on a path that, you know, this is where I'm going and this is what's going to be happening. And then all of a sudden something comes along and makes them do a left-hand turn or strike something out of nowhere, and they sort of think, oh, my heavens, I'm back to the beginning again. But this is because Uranus is trying to shake everything up so that when it starts to go direct again, that it can have a clear run. It's like removing the boulders out of your pathway that you've got to walk on. Yes, we could walk around them. Yes, we could go over the top of them. Well, let's move them out of the road once and for all. So when we walk down that path again, a second, a third, and a 10th time, we don't have to make those adjustments and go round the boulder or over the top of the boulder. We can have a clear run. And that's what Uranus's role here is doing. He's trying to remove the boulders out of your life and the restrictions and the obstacles that have been there, so that we can start to get a clear run and we can start to get some of the magic of Uranus in a very, very positive way. So we have Mars. And Uranus will be, I better go back and say, it will be affecting the Earth signs, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio as well. So it's going to be sort of affecting things there that they really need to be sort of aware of for the moment, and sort of allowing sort of adjustments in their life, because remember, Uranus is trying to remove the boulders out of your life so your life can become a lot easier. We're going to wrap up the astrology section shortly, but I want to talk about Mars sitting in Cancer at the moment. Now, Mars is also retrograde, sitting in Cancer till the end of February. Mars is the planet of action. It's the planet of drive. It gets us out of bed of a morning. When it's sitting in Cancer, it doesn't feel real comfortable, because the Cancerian energy sort of says, I want to slow down. I want to think about things. I want it to feel right. It's got to feel comfortable with me. It's got to sit comfortably in my tummy before I'll take that step. And Mars is saying, come on, come on, come on, let's get going. We haven't got much time. We've got to get things moving. We've got to go, you know, and it's sort of almost like they're at opposite ends. So there'll be days there where a Cancer will feel very motivated, very clear, know exactly what they're doing, and then the next day they might wake up and think, why do I think like that? And I really need to slow things down. So just go with the energy if you're a Cancer. Don't try and sort of make everything right in one day. Go with what the energy is today, and then tomorrow's a brand new day. So yes, it is affecting the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and it's also affecting the opposite sign of Capricorn. So if you are a Capricorn, you may be finding that the land is shifting from 1 minute to the next for you, probably a little bit more so because it's an opposition as well. So it's sort of like we think we get something sorted out, and then bingo, something else comes along, and we're almost back at the starting point, or restart things and really sort of start to things up again. But be aware, we will start to clear, and by the time we head towards the end of February, things will feel a lot easier for you Capricorns, that's for sure. So we've got Venus conjunct or holding hand Saturn. Now, this is what's known as a very wide aspect. Now, what it means is Venus, the planet of love and affection, is starting to hold hands with Saturn, which is the planet of discipline, structure, and important things in our lives in Pisces. So this is for anybody. It doesn't matter what your star sign is, that you're looking for love, you're looking to bring new love into your life. What it's indicating to you at the moment is we have to have the soft, subtle, gentle approach, that we have to look at the things that Pisces rules, which is music, mental health, looking at things that in a softer, more gentle, more creative sort of way. So if you're looking for love, it's not the day to go down to the shooting range unless you find that creative. Let's go to concerts. Let's go to things in the park. Let's go to the theatre, to the movies, to a Broadway show, whatever it might be, something that's very creative. But also look for something that might have a hidden meaning, a structure to the show. Is there a definite message that they're trying to send across in this show? And that's sort of more likely where you're going to meet possibly, potentially, a new love interest. Now, when I say it's wide, in astrology, we look for sort of fairly close connections, 5 to 7 degrees is sort of roughly the average. Once we get past 7, we start to say it's getting wide, and we allow that to go up to about 9 or 10 degrees. Well, there's 10 degrees between these two at the moment. It will close the gap over the next few weeks, so it's going to become more intense. I just thought I'd give you a little sneak preview of that so you could get ready if you were searching for love in the new year. It's giving you a starting point. Now, we're going to talk with Vladimir in Brooklyn in New York. Are you there? Are you there, sweetie?
Yes, hi, I'm here. Yes, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sweetie. How can I help you? Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yes. Just wondering what's coming up with the career for me. See what you pick up for me, please.
Okay, all right. And that's a really good start to the year, looking at your career and where, things are going to flow for the year. The first thing that they're showing me from the other side, which is where I get the information from, is they're showing me it's not quite the right time to be making a final decision on your career yet. They're asking you to sort of sit tight just for a little bit longer, just let things flow in and out before you start to see the patterns start to form or the formulation sort of coming. The current job that you're in, I'm not sure that it's completely the right job for you, but I don't feel it's the right time to make a jump either at the moment and look for something else. I want you to sort of look around, see what's going on in the job market. I want you to also look at very carefully, is there any other skills or things that you need to upgrade that could give you put you in a better position, that if and when you did decide to sort of maybe change jobs, that you've got everything up to the minute. You've got the latest skill set under your belt. Like with technology moving so fast, I think it's probably hard for some of us to keep up with it, but I'm going to suggest to you that you need to make sure that your skills are up to the minute. I'm actually sort of seeing a big change or a big decision coming in around March or April, and it's like by then you'll know clearly whether you want to stay where you are or whether it's time to move on. Not showing me that one is any better than the other, and I don't mean to sound vague. That's what they're showing me from the other side, is that a decision has been made yet. So it's still really flexible, fairly pliable. And some they don't want to necessarily influence us, but they say, oh, yes, well, you should change your job because of X, Y, Z. And we think, oh, well, I've been given that information, that's what I should do. They're wanting you to be in the driver's seat. They're wanting you to be able to make sure that this is the right thing for you. I'm going to say to you, from my personal feeling, from what I'm sort of being given from the other side, and I've tried to go into your soul quickly, I don't know that you're necessarily going to change your job, but I think there will be changes to the structure of the current job without actually calling it a promotion. It's like the company that you're working for is going through some, I don't know how to put it, adjustments, I suppose is the best way. And with that, there will be some adjustments to duties and things that people do for the company, which will put them in a much stronger position company-wise. But I think it will also lead to further in the year, if you stay in this current role and you roll with the punches and the changes that are coming up, even if you don't agree with them or you don't like the new tasks or whatever, and they've taken a favourite part of your job away, roll with it, because what I'm seeing, if you were to stay there from about August or September, you would then be in line for what I would term as a fairly decent sort of promotion with a good, hit with money as well, to bring your pay packet up to a nice degree. And you would be back into a point where the new role would be better suited to you and your skills. So I think it's, for the moment, let's just be flexible and roll with the punches and just go hour by hour and not necessarily make a decision until it really feels really strong. So I hope that's helped you.
Yes, thank you.
You're very, very welcome. We're going to talk with Stacey now in Long Island in New York. Are you there, Stacey?
Hello.
Hi, Stacey. How can I help you, sweetie? Do you have a question for me?
Yeah, I guess I do. I kind of want to know if, I don't know, I kind of need some direction in life, and I want to know if my relationship is worth fighting for, or if I should just kind of look towards a different way, and if so, what direction should I go?
Okay. I don't want you to give me your person of interest's first name, but if you can share with me their first letter, that's really helpful to me.
Share with you their what?
Their first letter of their first name. Yes.
J.
Jay, great, thank you. Just so I can tune into them so that I'm just not, randomly sort of tuning into anybody. Okay, first thing that they're showing me from the other side, which is where I get my information, the higher power, is showing me that there's a number of endings, changes and transformations coming up around you, Stacey. Stacey, you've lost your ability to think on your feet. I want to get back to that where I can snap my fingers and I can think on my feet. For some reason, that's sort of waned over the last 12 to 18 months, almost come to a standstill. So I want you to get back to that. It's interesting, when I ask them about the relationship, they keep saying to me, well, how long's the piece of string? How long's your patience? So I think that's the answer there. Is your patience run out yet?
Yeah, just about. I mean, my patience is running out, but I mean, I've stood in here having faith that, there's a lot of things that this person needs to change within themselves, and I can't do that for them. I try
Absolutely
to guide them,
not.
and they always ask me for that help, but they need to do that. So my patience has run thin, but it's like, is this person going to make that change?
That's a really tough question because, as you know, they've got to be the one to do it. You can show them, you can guide them,
Yep.
You can give them all the information under the sun, but they've got to be the one to take that step. And what I'm picking up with Jay is that they're very hesitant to do so. It's almost like I get there and I freeze, and it's like, oh, it's almost like somebody standing on the edge of a swimming pool. They're going to dive in, but they stand there and freeze. Do we push them in, or do we wait for them to take that leap of faith themselves? And I don't think by pushing somebody ever really achieves anything. You've done everything correct. All as you can do now, I think, Stacey, is take the focus back to you. Rather than be so focused on whether Jay's going to change or implement the changes that you've suggested and do something for themselves, is take the focus away from them and take it back to you, where you can control what's going on in your life and getting yourself back to that snap of the fingers, being decisive, making decisions and sticking to it and doing it quickly. And I think by doing that, what you're going to do is lead by example. It's like, okay, I said I'm going to go and buy a new car tomorrow. So you get up and you do it. You know what I mean? You don't sit there and procrastinate and think about it for a month, 3 months, 6 months, and then say, oh, gee, the old car's broken down. I should have bought that new car. You know what I mean? You've led by example, and that's what I think you have to do here. I'm not totally convinced this relationship should go tatters yet. I think we still need to give it a little bit more time. I'm not going to say a huge amount of time. I don't think it would be unreasonable by you switching back to you and putting the focus on you and getting back to that snap of the fingers and being decisive with your own decisions and choices, that, if we gave this other person, say, another 3 or 4 months, 4 months maybe maximum, that if they haven't shown you in that time that they've been prepared to get up off the couch and put something into action or attempt to put something into action, then you know what decision you need to make. But let's not just make that the major focus in your life at the moment. Let's bring the focus back to you, Stacey, because that's what I think needs to happen. You've got opportunities that are going to come up that you're going to have to make very snap decisions. And part of that will be connected with work. And I'm not saying the job you're in is not good. I'm saying the job itself seems to be evolving and changing. And there may be potentially another role that's going to come up that's not necessarily a promotion, but you're given the opportunity. Do you want it or not? And it's like you've got 5 minutes to make up your mind before they offer it to someone else. So you won't have time to sort of go home, think about it and worry about what Jay's doing. You've got to be yes or no. We've got to get that decisiveness back in you. You lost that. It's sort of like it's been asleep. We need to get that back again. That's your own intuition or your own psychic ability that we need to sort of ramp up again. Does that make sense to you, Stacey?
100%.
Wonderful. Yeah, and it's just, look, Jay's a lovely person, don't get me wrong, but, you can't always drag someone else up and keep trying to drag them up to your level. If they can't show you after you've given them so much insight that they're prepared to take those steps, well, then you've got no other option to eventually but to cut them loose. I'm still erring on the side of caution. I still think there's real potential there, and I do think Jay can get up off the couch and really start to show us what they're capable of. Let's go for the positive route. Okay, and then if it doesn't work out, then you know what to do.
Okay.
Yeah, but, it's a year of action for you, and I don't want to see you miss the action that's coming your way because you're so focused on what Jay needs or doesn't need or hasn't done or hasn't started. The focus has got to come back to you, Stacey. And that's not being
Yeah,
selfish. That's looking after you. If you don't look after you, you can't help anyone else.
yeah, I've been telling myself that the past few days. I mean, yeah, he's always wanting me to help him, and it's like I don't feel the appreciation, and like I'm always hearing what I'm not doing right, and it's like I have no one to support me like I support him, so it's like
Exactly.
I'm to the point
So you gotta
where I know
support
I have
yourself.
to do for me.
Yeah, you have to support
Yeah.
yourself. And it's hard sometimes to get up and sort of, say that, okay, when you've always been a giver, Stacey, like you always have been, it's hard to turn around and give to yourself because we sort of tend to think, oh, that's being selfish. It's not being selfish. If there's nothing left in your reserve tank, then how can you help Jay? You can't.
Yep.
So we've got to fill your reserve tank up and your fuel tank up and every other tank up so that you can fill yourself up. And then if there's anything left over, then we can help him. But, you're not helping him by helping him. You know what I mean? He's got to get up off that couch and do it himself. It's the only way he's going to learn. It's the only way he's going to achieve anything. You doing it for him is a high victory.
Yeah. I told him that yesterday. We had a big discussion. He said he's had enough of this and that. And I said, look, you're like leading the horse to water. I can only help you if you're willing to help yourself. I've done all I can do.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you now
Absolutely.
to let your ego go and, let every pride and whatever and realize and look at yourself in the mirror and realize that you have to make the change. I can't do it for you. So, yeah.
No, you can't. Yeah, so you're on the right path. You didn't really need me, sweetie, to help you. Happy New Year, and it's been lovely to talk to you. That was Stacey in Long Island in New York, and a lot of people are facing that same sort of situation with partners around the world, and I won't go into any more about that. I want to wrap the show up this week. I mean, we're still in the New Year's party time festivities, and it's a big deal here in Australia as it is in many, many places around the world. And here in Australia, I live in what's known as Party Central on the Gold Coast, and it's absolutely fantastic. But let me assure you, we could not compete with what Sydney did this year for New Year's Eve. They had a headline act from England that was really absolutely fantastic, sensational, really enjoyed the show. I didn't stay up and watch it because I was going to be on air early the next morning, but I did watch it later on. It was absolutely fantastic. And I've never been a big fan of this person's music. I'm going to say I know who he was and, I've listened to a couple of songs and yes, they're great. But I really saw the man in action and why people rave about him. And I'm talking about the one and only Robbie Williams, and he has an amazing new movie out called A Better Man. I want to leave you with what I think is one of his more popular songs, and it's really perfect for this time of the year as we bring in the new year and we all start to get excited and happy about things. Let me entertain you with Robbie Williams, and all the way from the Gold Coast. Have a happy and wonderful new year, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.